Right. Why don't we get started? So, welcome everybody, Friday Night Lights. If you haven't been here with us before, you, we've been doing this for about 2 years, a little under that. We're here every Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. We named it Friday Night Lights because we started around football season, and thought it made sense, kind of a little play on football, Friday Night Lights. So every Friday, we try and bring you guys topics that are relevant to multifamily. We've walked through our own personal deal, the steps that it took for us to close that deal. We've had people on for taxes and all kinds of other topics. And we really try and bring you guys every piece of information that we can come up with, information that we've learned, anything else, even mistakes that we've made so you don't make those mistakes. I'm really excited tonight. We are getting some AI. I know that's a fancy word. It could mean 10,000 different things. I was telling Akash before you say AI as a large company and your stock explodes, right? So in some cases, you don't even have to have AI. You could just use the wording. But he has some really amazing content around AI and multifamily. And we're really excited to have him here tonight. We met Akash through Investor last year at the Investor Summit. Fantastic guy, loves multifamily, and this AI information that he's going to give you is going to be absolutely fantastic. I will preface that again, just our standard disclaimer, we are not tax accountants, we are not SEC lawyers, and we are not financial advisors. So everything you hear is for training purposes and for education only. You always, always, always do your due diligence. But with that, I am really excited to introduce Akash to you. I will turn it over to you, Akash, to kind of introduce yourself, give folks the lay of the land. I see you've already posted some stuff in the chat too. So I'll turn it over to you.
Great. No, thanks a lot, Jason. Thank you for having me at your Friday Night Lights event today. Thank you to you, Teresa, Laura, Tim, and the whole Next Legacy team for having me. Guys, hey, the talk today is going to be about AI and AI in multifamily. And hey, 7 months ago, when I used to do a talk on AI, I used to, ask the people about with a show of hands who knows about AI, what they have done, have they used ChatGPT, and so on and so forth. I guess that's we are way beyond that now. So, hey, I think everybody knows AI now. Everybody's played around with it. So we're gonna leave that out. But we're gonna cover a little bit of ground around multifamily. I am myself am a multifamily operator, so we'll cover what how AI is changing multifamily and real estate in a few ways. Again, like Jason did a disclaimer, I'm going to do a disclaimer as well. Hey, this is all for education purposes only. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about is from my own experience. And so, hey, obviously, if you're going to do some investing, even do some AI trying or whatever have you, there is a lot of holes and that you need got to navigate around. So just be careful about those. Right. With that, a little bit about myself. Akash Jain, I run an AI company. About 60% of my time is spent in running my AI company. About 20% of my time do real estate. I have about 700 units in Dallas, about $100 million in AUM. I not only do multifamily, but I have retail, I have land, different various kinds of asset classes within real estate itself. And the remainder of the 20% of my time, I'm also involved as a partner in a Silicon Valley venture fund. Over the last 7 years or so, I've invested in more than 100 startups. And prior to that, in 2019, I actually had an exit from my healthcare startup. I ran that healthcare startup for about 6 years. 2019, we exited out, and that's when we started heavily. Like I've been a real estate investor since 1999, but majorly started putting a lot of money towards allocating a lot of money towards real estate in 2019 onwards. From my previous life, I used to be an executive at Honeywell. I did a lot of M&A type consulting at EY, Cognizant, Brilio, and Infosys. So that's my previous life. I have an MBA from a top 20 school, and I'm married to my high school sweetheart, and we have two boys, 25 and 17, and we live in Frisco, Texas. So that's a little bit about me. and hey, what I have done in my life. So, I was talking to you a little bit about what we used to talk about 7 months ago, right? We used to talk about, hey, who all have used Claude, who all have used ChatGPT. What are you guys doing with it? Have you done any custom GPTs, built any custom GPTs, and so on and so forth, right? And it's about 7, 8 months ago that the whole frontier got reset. Hey, Google, which has Gemini, they released a new model. OpenAI released their new model. Claude released Opus, and that was almost within a few weeks of each other. And then in January February timeframe, we got OpenClaw. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with OpenClaw, but OpenClaw is what made AI more and more autonomous, more agentic. That's what happened in January February timeframe, where we a lot of agentic capabilities came to the table. And I'm gonna, if some people are not familiar with agentic, I'm gonna explain that in a little bit as well. So that's what happened in January, February timeframe. Then in March, or those of you who are in real estate or in multifamily, you guys probably know about Entrata. Entrata is a property management system. I'm sure of some of you are using Entrata. You're using Resman, Yardi, and Appfolio, one of the few property management systems. So Entrata got into the game, and they shipped what they call an agentic property management system. And they call that they were talking about they have 100 plus agents in that system. So that was into real estate and multifamily. We started getting some agentic. And now, most recently, in May, June timeframe, we have both Claude as well as this week Microsoft announced that they're going to have a partnership with OpenClaw, and they're going to release an agent called or an assistant called OpenClaw Scout, and that is going to run on your computer and act as an AI agent as well. So again, a lot of stuff has happened in the last 7 years, 7 months. 7 months almost seems like 7 years in the AI space. And it's not about so all of these all these companies, OpenAI, Claude, and your Perplexity, some of the Chinese LLMs, your Kimi and your DeepSeek, they keep leapfrogging each other with their models. Every month you have a new model. In fact, not even every month, I use something called a Claude Cowork on my machine. Every day I see 3 updates from Claude Cowork, and I have to come out of it and launch it again so that I get the latest version of it. So it's not about who has the smartest model, but how much work are they able to do autonomously is what matters today. And that is what we are seeing in today's world, if you may. Guys, I want to keep it interactive. If there's a question, please feel free to chime in. Hey, we can take it right then and there. And if I know anything about it, I'll talk about it. So again, I think like 7 months ago, we used to talk about these 6 stages of AI. Stage number one is artificial narrow intelligence. Then in the stage number two, which was advanced artificial narrow intelligence, where you had assistants and workflows and so on and so forth. Today, we are in stage three and stage four, where agentic AI kind of plans and executes some of the tasks that you ask it to do. And stage four is where you have multi-agent workforces. We are seeing a number of people deploy like an executive assistant, which will read your email and book your calendar invites and draft your messages and or call and book an appointment for you somewhere, right? So those are those are agentic workforces, if you may. But multi-agent workforces is when you have multiple levels of agents, when an agent is telling 5 other agents on what to do, and they are doing autonomous tasks, and they themselves can then have other agents. And that is how a lot of coding is getting done these days. So people in the Silicon Valley are really running for their jobs because that is what is happening is there's multi-level agents in coding being deployed. Stage number five is artificial general intelligence, where, hey, we will have more digital workers who will start replacing human workers, if you may. And then you have stage six, which is the artificial super intelligence, where every AI will surpass the human, and we're going to have Armageddon, if you may, right? That is when we're going to have an apocalypse. And
Schwarzenegger
Elon,
style, right? Yeah.
that is what Elon talks about all the time. Hey, and then my next slide is talking about some of these people who have created AI for us and who are at the forefront of it. Altman, Dario, who's the CEO of Anthropic, Elon, Jensen Huang, who's in with NVIDIA, Nadella, Sundar Pichai, and Tim Cook. These are the guys who are leading us into this age. And each one of us, every day or the other, talks about how AI is leapfrogging, how they have leapfrogged the other company and so on and so forth, right? Elon always talks about AI is already smarter than the smartest human, right? Obviously, his big payday is coming next week. Next week on Friday, he's launching SpaceX, which is going to be one of the biggest IPOs in the world. I'm not sure if any of you guys have put your hat in the ring or not, but
One point,
by the
what,
way,
1.5 trillion, right? I think that's what they're estimating.
1.75 trillion, sir.
Now they've
1.75
moved it.
trillion.
Oh, okay. Wow.
$1.75 trillion for the IPO. And by the way, guys, if you have not put your hat in the ring, you actually can, because 30% of the stock which is going to be given out is going to be given out by Robinhood, Fidelity, and Schwab. And they are actually accepting orders from anybody, anybody who has an account with them. They're accepting orders of about 100 to 200 shares. Obviously, you may not get allocated 100 to 200 shares. You may only get 2, 4, 5, 10 shares, depending on the demand. But if you have an account with Robinhood, if you have an account with, if you want to get into the game, hey, you may ask for it, right? I think they're pricing it at $135 to open. Again, with that, right? Hey, obviously Elon is making history next week with whatever he's bringing on again, and SpaceX is all of his companies together, including Grok and XAI. So again, they're not talking about, all these people. They're not talking about the direction. They're talking about the date when something is going to happen, right? And how some of these things are going to get intelligence, so on and so forth. By the way, guys, what I do is every week, so I can't keep up with AI myself. Hey, I'm into it every day with my team. I have a team of over 25 people in my company, and everybody who's a super engineer, better, smarter than me in AI, and I can't keep up with AI. So what I have started doing is I actually have a weekly 3 to 4 minute snapshot of what I learned through the week in AI for real estate, and that is available on my LinkedIn. That's what the QR code, if you may. If you want to follow it, I have a newsletter also. Every week, I talk about this week what happened in AI and what happened in AI for real estate. Or I actually posted my LinkedIn link into the chat as well. So go there, check it out. Every week you'll listen about what is going on in real estate, what is going on in multifamily, what some of these guys are saying. Anyway, so that's a little bit about what some of these people are saying from an AI perspective. Now, on this slide, what I want to talk about is hey, what is the difference between a chat and a workflow and an agent? I think everybody is familiar here with the chat. Chat is what you see on the with the Chat GPT, or when you when you get into Claude or Gemini for that matter. When the most prominent interface is chat. You ask it a question, it gives you back an answer. You ask a better question, it'll give you a better answer. Yeah, it will have some, now these days, all of these models have some memory. But hey, on this one we talk about no memory because hey, I'm talking about generally one-on-one one single sentence chats. But these days, some of these chat systems are having memory as well, so it will remember what you talked about in the past, right? What is a workflow? Workflow is something where it's almost like a process, if you may. where you have already identified what the various steps in the process are, and an automation will take care of all those steps in a process. It is fired by a trigger. Trigger meaning a condition gets met. Suppose, for example, I'll give you an example, right? So we use one of these triggers in our one of our systems in our. So if you receive an email, for example, if I receive an email from Jason, I may have a trigger set up saying that, hey, as soon as I receive an email from Jason, send me a text or send him a response back that, hey, I'll respond to you back in the next 5 hours. So that's a trigger, because a trigger is an event which happened. So Jason sent me an email. My agent detected, or a workflow detected, that I got an email from Jason and I got to do something about it. Okay, so that's a workflow. Now, and again, you can define n number of steps in a workflow, and they will happen automatically, right? When a condition get met, or you can even trigger a workflow with a time, right? You can say, hey, at 6 o'clock every morning, I need to get an AI briefing. That is a workflow, right? It triggered based on a time event being met, an alarm being met, right? That's a workflow. What is an agent? The difference between an agent and a workflow is, an agent, you give the agent a goal. You tell the agent what you want the output to be, and the agent plans that task, executes that task, and gives you the output. So it is thinking, it has some parameters around thinking. Obviously, you got to give it some guardrails, right? The guardrails are, hey, you cannot go outside these parameters. So that is what an agent is. So again, that's the difference between these three guys. I'm going to pause here and see if anybody has any questions around this.
Yeah, are there any questions? I see some stuff happening in the chat. Any questions so far?
Kesh, could you go back to your QR code? There was somebody looking for that, and maybe we could pop it into the chat. There we go, so that people can, I don't know if you can, if you've got that handy, you can post that in the chat, and that way people can get to it.
It's actually my LinkedIn profile, so let me just see if I have it here.
I'm sure you guys have some questions. I mean, this is good stuff.
Yeah, I got a question.
Go for it.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
hey, how you doing? And I
Hey,
really
Steve.
appreciate you being here today. With the workflow, that slide that you were just on with the chat, GBT, all that workflow and agent, I've seen a lot of things online and through other forms of AR arbitrage and using like creating a business where you target businesses of any type, any niche, and then you use AI agents and workflow platforms to assist in the hitting the pain points of those businesses and coming up with solutions for them. Do you have any experience with that? Have you heard anything about that? And what is your take on that?
That's a great question. That's a very entrepreneurial question, Steve, and I see that every day, almost every day. Hey, and the YouTube is filled with all of that, right? And it's very easy, and these days it's becoming very, very easy to do, right? So you can actually ask. You can do it with Claude. You can do it with. You can do it with Claude Cowork. You can do it with OpenClaw. You can ask. You can give it a zip code. For example, I'll give you an example, right? You can give it a zip code. Like, for example, I live in 75034. I can give a Claude an example. Claude saying that, hey, find me all or create me a workflow where you are going to find all the plumbing companies in 75104. Go to their website, look at their website, if, see how their websites are. If your website meets if their websites are SEO, so if you're running an SEO business, for example, you can ask Claude to audit all of those. If it may come up with a list of 100 plumbers in 75034, then you can, and you can ask it to do an SEO audit for all those 100 plumbers, and then create emails to all those plumbers to go put a proposal to them saying that, hey, I've looked at your website, there are these 5 deficiencies, I'm happy to help you come over those. for $100 a pop, $500 a pop, $1,000 a pop. Absolutely, those are very easily doable these days.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm looking into getting into that myself. So,
And there is a couple of I will give you on Chris Kroner. He is somebody you should, if you're looking into something like that. Chris Kroner is a YouTuber. He comes up with a lot of great ideas. He does a lot of that. He does a lot of. He's on YouTube and he puts it out there on YouTube. Greg Eisenberg is another guy on YouTube that I follow, and he is a startup idea. His company is called Startup Ideas, right? And so he's another one to follow. Nate Herc is another guy on YouTube that you should follow if you're going to build some agentic tools. So those are top three that are, hey, Chris Kroner, Greg Eisenberg, and Nate Herc.
okay. Thank you very much.
Sure, sir. Any other questions, guys? Sylvia.
I have a question. It's kind of a basic one, but I've heard a lot of discussion about it. So, like, say for example, you use AI to evaluate a T12. When you got that T12, you signed an NDA, right? So, what is the privacy issues or the disclosure issues related to dropping information into AI?
That is what we are grappling with these days, Sylvia. Again, any information that you put in Claude and or chat may be shown to somebody else. And there's a big maybe. Hey, it is very possible that somebody may see it. So that is a risk that you generally take, but it will generally not be shown verbatim, word to word. If you put in a T12 into Claude or chat, can I go and say, hey, take out the T12 that Sylvia put in? Absolutely not. I will not be able to do that. Or if your apartment was called Brookfield Apartments, if you put the Brookfield Apartment T12 in there, can I go to chat and say, hey, do you have any record of Brookfield Apartment T12? Chat is not going to give me that. So that is a known risk that you will do with any of these OpenAI or like with ChatGPT, Claude, or Perplexity, but it is not. Again, look, like if anything, right? We go into a deal with some known risks. That is a known risk.
What about, say, you're using it to evaluate when to refi a property? So you have all your financials in there, but AI is generating something. So that thing that AI generated, that report, is that more accessible to other people?
No, is the same
Same
principles apply.
thing.
Same principles apply. It is not going to give verbatim. It is going to anonymize, and most of the information that it gets, it uses itself to train itself. It is not going to give out verbatim anything. It is going to anonymize it. Now, I'll give you a few horror stories. Hey, so it gave out Microsoft's product keys in a few instances, right? So the people have tricked it they'll ask 10 questions, and hackers have tricked it. But obviously, OpenAI, Claude, and Perplexity, they're getting very much smarter about it as well. So it is a very is there a chance? Yes. How big is the chance? I do it all the time. Yes, Mel.
Hi, Akash. I wanted to get your thoughts on structuring all these third-party services that, to some extent, they all have some agentic features. So I wanted to know if you had, for your business, a sort of hub and spoke where you have an MCP server and then you have like a spoke that leads out to some of these other services. So let's say you have your CRM. I was thinking making my CRM the hub, and then from there I would go to ChatGPT as one of the spokes, one of these services. And then my question becomes, where do I keep all my data? Do I keep it in a Google Drive where ChatGPT and my CRM can access it? Or do I keep it in ChatGPT or Claude as sort of the reservoir or the curator of all my data, and then get my CRM to extract from it so that I can get workflows from it? How do you go about structuring everything so you're not spending too much money on API keys and each month you'll have this big, huge bill because all these things are talking to each other and you don't really know whether you got any value out of it.
That's a great question, Mal, and we struggle with it almost every day, because every day there's a new tool coming out, there's a new API coming out, there's a new subscription coming out, and hey, so you got to build your tech stack, and you got to stick with it for some period of time, right? Because AI is moving at such a pace, we have a new shiny object almost every day, right? I think we gotta refrain ourselves from that. Having said that, we have a tech stack that we have kind of gotten comfortable with, right? We use for I'll give you an example, right? We use Claude for most of our coding, Claude Code. We use Claude Code for most of our coding. We use OpenClaw for a lot of our agentic autonomous stuff. Now, every day I'm tempted to move to, like, hey, Nemo Claw came out, then Hermes came out, then Open House is here. So there are new and new platform coming up every day for these autonomous stuff. But I have to refrain myself from, I mean, like, it's not like that we don't try. We will try them out all the time. But now, so a couple of my products are now built on OpenClaw. It will be a major re-engineering effort to take them from OpenClaw now to come bring them to Hermes or to bring them to Open House, right? So we refrain from doing that. If there's a new product that I'm developing, I might try something else. Same thing on, for example, right, vibe coding. We do a lot of vibe coding as well, right? We've used Lovable, we've used Replete, we've used Bolt, we've used what do you call Gamma for a bunch of our slides and so on and so forth. But then we standardize. Okay, we said, okay, you know what? We like Lovable better than any of the other three. Okay, so we'll standardize on Lovable. Same thing on the CRM side, right? On the CRM side, we for capital raising, we have our own system, Capital AI, right? And a lot of our data is stored in the CRM, right? Now, if you're a Google person, then hey, you're better off connecting Google. But if you're a Microsoft person, so like the whole of our company is on Microsoft. All 25 people that I have that work for with me, we are on Microsoft. So we have Microsoft Shop, we use Outlook, and we use SharePoint, right? So we don't use Google Workspace because we are a Microsoft Shop. So you got to put a stake in the ground somewhere and say, hey, this is what my tech stack looks like, and then reevaluate in 9, 10 months, 1 year, whatever have you, right? So you got to build up your stack. I'm not sure if I directly answered your concern, but that's
No,
how I
no,
go about
I
it.
agree. It's just sort of pick a horse, right? And you make that as the staple one software that you're probably not going to move from. It's a bit of a risk. Like last 6 months, it's all been Chat GPT. Now all of a sudden, Claude has really moved forward. While Chat GPT lost Sora, and so you're wondering, did I bet on the wrong horse? Is it going to happen again? And you're definitely speaking like that tonight. That things are moving so rapidly that you don't want to reinvent the wheel every year. Like you want to have the one CRM, you want to have the one database, you want to have the one agentic software that does everything for you, the workflows or doing your GPTs or what have you. But I realize that you have to remain flexible because there are newer and better products that come around.
But
Thank
not
you.
only that, right? I mean, you talk about the Sora, right? So we saw Nano Banana. Nano Banana was doing a fantastic job with the pictures. Hey, so now Chad is doing a better job with the pictures. So hey, for each and every will I use Claude for pictures? No, I actually go to your Chat GPT for pictures these days, or Gemini, right? But for all my reasoning and coding and whatnot, I go to Claude. So you'll have to. So you there are these models which are now, for example, I like so for all my coding and reasoning, I like Claude. But then I also use Kimi and DeepSeek, right? So yes, they are Chinese models. We don't entrust a lot of our data to those models, right? If I have to do any data processing, I'll do it in Claude and ChatGPT. But if I have to just figure out, hey, which agent should I use for something like this, or if I have to modify a picture here, they are much cheaper to use than than your Claude and OpenAI. And by the way, there was another question which was asked about, hey, our information being on the web. I just realized we also run, we also run a version of Olama. So Olama is an open source LLM, which actually you can run on your own server. So if you are worried about data being out on the internet, you actually can run Olama. It's an LLM which you can run on your own server. Obviously, it's not going to be as good as Claude or as good as ChatGPT, but it will actually, or the whole, everything will be within your four walls, if you may.
Thank you,
Rebecca,
sir.
Okay.
Rebecca,
Hi,
you had a question?
I do. To me, AI, well, yeah, I've taken AI, years ago, but it's just to me, it's a new calculator. Um, People seem like they have issues with AI, taking over the world or whatever, but it just to me, I mean, simply, I've taken OMs from off the internet and just simply dropped them into Copilot. I mean, not even using anything fancy or simple, it is very simplified and they broke it down and given me all types of answers on Copilot. Just that's right there in your web browser. So I mean, it just seems like a lot of people are I mean, I'm oversimplifying what AI can do. I mean, I know that there's a lot of powerful things out there that AI does with your different versions of it, but it's an awesome program, and you can do so much for free if you don't really want to go that deep. I mean, I'm sure that if you have your business and you want to have it structured in a certain way, you definitely want to do that. But if you're looking for something simple, you don't even have to have it broken down. You could just take the whole OM, drop it in your Copilot right there on your web browser, and it's going to break everything down and tell you what to look for and what to do, in my opinion.
Again, to a certain extent, yes. But then there are other, obviously, hey, is the new shiny object these days, Rebecca, if you may, everybody's playing around with it. Hey, there is obviously a lot of capability that it has. So I'll give you an example. Like yesterday, I was looking at one news article where within hey, there was Jarvis, which actually could process 7,000 tax returns in like a few days, if you may. Right. So it's just about the speed of implementation, autonomous things that we don't have to spend hours and days and weeks on. So
Right.
definitely there is a space. I mean, like I remember my first paper on AI. I'm a computer engineer by background, so I graduated in 1993 from my undergrad as a computer engineer, and that is when I wrote my first AI first AI paper was in 1992 as a thesis. So
Okay.
it's been out there for a while.
Oh yeah. Awesome. Yeah, it is.
Great
Good.
guys. No, this is great discussion. I love it. But let me continue on because what I'm going to talk about, Rebecca, is what AI cannot replace as well, right? And what, we, all of us who are on this call, we are all investors. We are all here because we want to invest money in multifamily, make some money in multifamily. What it cannot replace is relationships and trust. And that's what I'm going to talk about in a bit as well. All right. So in 2026, hey, till now, we used to see, hey, only 5% of the enterprise AI apps had embedded AI, but now over 40% of them have that. And then, hey, enterprise, there was about almost 79% of enterprises who have adopted agents are actually running, about only 11% of them are running in production. And not only that, I think hey, we got asked about the question about MCP servers, right? And about 30% of the vendors are now shipping their products with MCP servers. And the reason is because they want their softwares to be accessible by AI, right? So that MCP servers are there. So MCP, if it's for those of you don't know, MCP is a model context protocol. It's a protocol that Claude came up with, and what that really does is it basically gives a window into your SaaS software to other parties around the world, or or for example, or your CRM can tap into your SaaS, and one software can tap into another software using MCP servers, if you may. So that's a slide around the macro shift where everybody is now moving their applications into production, and most of them now have some kind of a agentic capability, and that is what the shift is. That is not about experimentation; it's about shipping the products, the SaaS products, and other product software products with agentic capabilities. So as all of this has been happening, right? Real estate is a big industry. And you guys will be shocked. Last year, I went to a conference, AI4, in Las Vegas. There were about 8,000 people at that conference, and there were about 250 booths in the exhibitor space. And obviously, I'm like, I'm a real estate guy, so I was looking for booths there in the exhibitor space for real estate. I think I found out of 250, I found maybe one or two booths which were for real estate, right? And then not only that, almost 100%. So what I did was when I came back, I took a list of all the 250, I put it into my Claude and asked Claude, hey, how many of these are catering to small, medium businesses? Zero, zip. Out of the 250 exhibitors who were there, zero were catering to small and medium businesses, right? Well, everybody was catering to the enterprise. Okay. So a lot of the mom and pops and a lot of the small medium businesses, they were not being catered to. Real estate was not even on anybody's radar. Only one or two vendors there. But as I see now, it's catching up. If you look at a couple of my last couple of weeks of my AI briefing, you would see that hey, all the property management companies are picking up. There's a new vendors coming into space for capital raising, for agentic, and so on and so forth. So multifamily finally woke up. Is the That's the reason that I have that slide in there saying that hey, so we are now seeing a lot more activity in our space from an agentic perspective. And I was talking about earlier that Entrada shipped this first agentic PMS system. I've been talking to AppFolio also because we're trying to interface our product into AppFolio, and AppFolio and Resman have been a little bit difficult to work because they are coming up with their own agentic capabilities, and they don't want a third party tapping into their data. So they're trying to preserve their turf there. What we've also seen is hey, people or the property management companies who have more than 5,000 units, they are adopting much quicker because they're bigger staff, they have a roadmap, so on and so forth, and smaller ones are not adopting as fast as you could, right? No, hey, I'm going to talk about two different paradigms here, right? Hey, one is capital raising, and the other one is operations, right? So that's the way I'm looking at it from a multifamily perspective, right? So on the capital side, AI is helping you with investor outreach, nurturing the investors, hey, making sure that your data room is all cleaned up. You have all the documents that you need to be in data room. People are signing up the NDAs and so forth, so on and so forth. You have the soft commits and the hard commits and the wiring and the whole process around that with capital that has some AI baked into it, right? On the operation side, with multifamily, your leasing is being handled by AI. Your maintenance requests, your renewal requests, your delinquency reports, some of your weekly, daily reporting, monthly reporting is being handled by AI, right? Now, there are a lot of workflows coming up, right? But the person who is going to have the most amount of data is, in my mind, that is good. Who's going to win? People are going to have models. People are going to have workflows, but the person who has the data wins. Now, one of the things that we have been doing as a company is we have been developing something called SLMs. You've heard of LLMs. LLMs are large language models, and which is what all these OpenAI and Claude and these companies are. What we are developing is SLMs, a small language model. And I'm developing an SLM for multifamily, for my apartments, right? And how am I doing that, right? So we run, and I'll go through that a little bit. So we have a system called Ten and Vibe. Ten and Vibe is nothing but essentially a voice agent. a voice agent which picks up every phone call that you receive at your apartment community, right? So if you're getting 100 phone calls a day, that means in a week you got 500 phone calls. In a month you got 2,000 phone calls, right? Those 2,000 phone calls, you have to analyze how many of those were maintenance calls, how many were new prospect calls, right? And even with those maintenance calls, how were those being handled? For the maintenance, were new work orders being created? And if the new work orders were being created, were those being handled carefully by a staff or not? Same thing on the pre-leasing side. If they got, 100 calls, how many of those how many of those got a tour? How many of them did you pre-qualify? If you pre-qualify, if you are looking at the credit scores and so on and so forth, how many of you did you pre-qualify? And if you if you pre-qualified a few people, did they come for tours or not? Right. So that kind of data we are trying to gather so that we now become, if I'm getting 2,000 calls from your apartment complex, and if I'm managing 50 apartment complexes, then I'm getting 100,000 calls. Okay. And then what I'm doing is I'm taking the data, and that becomes my database where I'm training my models on. So now my models become more and more, they understand what questions to ask. They understand the tone of voice. They understand what this person is going to answer and how to react to that. So that is a small language model around multifamily industry that I'm trying to build now, right? So those are the kind of things that is happening right now, if you may. What agents do in a raise, again, I think we already covered this, but again, investor research agent. From a capital raising perspective, if your next next legacy team is looking at a database of 500 investors, okay, they can actually take those investors and kind of figure out from their LinkedIn and from Apollo and so on and so forth as to what those investors, what kind of persona those investors are. And for example, if Jason is a physician and he wants to go talk to physicians, he can then go talk to those 20 people out of his database who are physician minded, right? So that kind of investor research, AI can help you do. Outreach and nurture agents. Again, depending on which various paths, you can say, hey, I want to send this person a five email drip campaign, so on and so forth. You can package the whole deal with the decks and the offering memos and so on and so forth. Data room Q&A agent, compliance assist. Now, hey, all of us who are raising money, we know we live in a SEC compliance world. We may have a 506B offering, we may have a 506C offering. 506B, we need to have pre-existing relationships. And if we don't have a pre-existing relationship, we cannot talk to that person about our deal. So now if I have an investor in my database and I haven't had an interaction with them 4, 5, 6 times, substantive conversation, then I cannot present them a deal. Now AI keeps track of that for you, right? So those are some of the things that AI can help you with that, right? Now, what we have done is we have a product called Capital AI. Now, the guys, this is a commercial here. This is a commercial break for a second here. So we have a product called Capital AI. What does Capital AI do? Capital AI helps you with all of that, right? Now, so again, I talked about trust and relationships. I sincerely believe that you cannot raise money by just sending out emails. You have to have a relationship. You have to have a trust developed. But can you develop trust by sending out articles and education and having this kind of meetings and conferences? Absolutely. Because what are we doing here? We are educating each other. We are taking each other from one level to another level with no and I don't think anybody here asked anybody, hey, pay us $100,000 or participate in our deal, and then only can you educate yourself. Absolutely not. It's about trust and relationship. If you guys show up to this conference 5, 10, 15 times in the next 3 months or in the last 6 months, there is a relationship and the trust being developed among the people who show up, right? And that is what that equation is. The capital is equal to networks. 1 plus T is the trust. N is the number of times you are, you're touching somebody, right? So that is what that is. That equation is, and I sincerely believe in that equation. And we have, in my mind, there are 4 C's for trust: competence, character, consistency, and care. And what some of these systems and AI agents do for you is enable those things, is enable you to have more touch points, is enable you to take that one person from discover all the way to qualify, educate, commit, steward, and compound. That is what I believe, and that is how capital is going to be raised going forward, using agentic systems, which can then help you with most of the rigmarole, if you may. Yes,
Hmm.
Mel, you have a question.
Yeah, Akash, maybe you can elaborate on the T. How do you quantify the value of T per person in your network? Because everybody's on a different sliding scale. So basically taking those 4 C's, and do you have like a spreadsheet or a database where every prospect or someone in your database has a ranking, a different ranking for competence, character, consistency, and care? And how do you know you've achieved each one of those? I
So, so
understand the
it's
end.
so,
Yeah,
so
I
it's not.
understand the end is a touch point, not the frequency of touches, different types of touches. I get that part, but how do you quantify the T?
So the quantification of T is that's a very cool question, right? So we are not saying that, hey, you are 1 to 10 on competence, you're 1 to 10 on character. You No, we are not ranking any one of anybody on any of those. What we are trying to do is we are trying to do a lead scoring mechanism. So we have something called a lead scoring mechanism, right? So if Jason sent you an email, and if you open that email, you get 5 points. If you then set up a meeting with Jason, then you get 40 points. If you showed up for that meeting, you get 20 more. But if you didn't show up for that meeting, you get 50 deducted from that point score. Not only that, if if you came to this conference, they're doing Friday Night Live every week. Every week when you show up, you get 50 more points. One week that you missed, because you showed up 5 times in the past, we are not going to take out the 50 from this, because you might have had something. But now, if you didn't show up for 2 or 3 times, we'll send you an email and say, hey, I haven't seen you in the last five Friday Night Live. And then you open up an email and say, you open that email up and came to the next one, you'll get 100 points, right? So we have that system built in, where for every action, for every touch point, we are scoring. We are scoring you. And then one fine day, when Jason has a deal, he
Hmm.
knows the 10 people who have a score of 100 and above, who are his hottest leads, because he has been engaged with them. They've been engaged with him. And Jason, I'm picking on you, my friend, but hey, that's
That's what I'm
the
doing. That's exactly what I'm doing. So you got it right.
yeah. So you have the hot, the warm, and the cold, and and the trust factor. I'll give you a very simple example. The trust is, even if it is 0.01, even if your trust factor, if as long as it's not zero, as long as it is not zero, even if it's 0.01, it will compound. That equation, the way I came up with that equation is even if it is minuscule trust, the more and
Yeah,
more
there
touch
it
points
was.
you have, it will compound. And if, because of that compounding, your trust level will start to increase. So now that T is not a literal number, it's a psychological number.
That makes sense. With regards to the consistent touch points, are you talking about the frequency or the number of touch points, or the different types of touch points that a prospect kind of goes through that whole customer journey through your pipeline, to from know to like to trust to doing a deal with you? Is it the
So
frequency of
it's
touches or the number of different types?
all of the above, all of the above, right? So it's not, so if you open, so there are communications like emails, SMSs, newsletters, events like this. So every event, every touch point may have a score or two, right? If Jason sends out saying that, hey, next deal coming soon, Okay, because it was if it because it said next deal coming soon, and you're like, no, I don't want to invest in it right now, and anything right now. You didn't even open it. But if you opened it, you get 20 more points because hey, that was a deal and you opened it. Right? If Jason was on a podcast, on somebody else's podcast, and you because you like his content so much that you went and listened to that one, you'll get 50 more points. So any of those touch points matter.
So do you see that being your database or your CRM that is scoring this through the help of agentic software,
So
or
that's exactly what it is.
got it, that
So
MCP
Capital
and
AI is built on top of Go High Level. Okay,
yes,
in Go High Level, what we have done is we have it done. We have all the workflows tied up and very sophisticatedly tied up. We have a bunch of custom fields, custom tags, lead scoring. Not only that, from the scoring itself, we actually also automate the task management. So we actually do a lot of task management within Capital AI as well, where we will create tasks for the team, saying that hey, you go to because now this guy is hot versus warm or whatever, or he didn't show up. There's a task created. Hey, can you go send him an email or call him and say, hey, why didn't you show up?
love it, love it. I'm on the same page as you. Go high level, and I'm trying to make it sort of have tentacles like an octopus to these other services. So I'm glad I'm on the right track. Thank you so much for validating that.
Not only that, right? Hey, hey, you got to have those tools and templates. Like for example, we have about a library of 200 by Next Legacy. By the way, kudos to the Next Legacy group. I went on the website, and what they have done with their blogs and their content is amazing, right? And hey, we have a blog library of about 225 blogs that we give out to people who actually become our clients. We have about 90 plus lead magnets. We have 15 funnels, five pipelines, more than 200 email and text snippets, and so on and so forth. Right? It's a full system blown in and plugged in for a bunch of our clients.
Thank you, Akash.
Guys, that was supposed to be a 1 minute commercial. It became much longer. I'm sorry about that. But again, same thing around Capital AI. I think we talked a bunch of things around it. Oh, next one. Okay, the silent bleed to the portfolio. Going to talk about operations side now. Uh, you know, a lot of the times, what I've seen is as an operator. So I have 700 units in Dallas, about six different properties, all the way from 20 unit property to a 345 unit property. So I've seen it all, right? And I've been doing this since 2019. And so a lot of times, the most of biggest turnover is because your staff was unresponsive. And because your staff was unresponsive, the tenant leaves, and then you end up putting a new tenant in, you lost 1 or 2 months of rent, and you spend money in turning that unit over. That's more than a $4,000 expense to your bottom line. Not only that, your staff is only there till 5 o'clock, guys. Most of the maintenance calls comes in after 5 o'clock because people just got home, and now they figured out that their dishwasher was not working. That's when they call you, right? Most of those calls go to voicemail. People are unresponsive and so on and so forth, right? The real issue is not the property, it's the unresponsiveness, guys. Anyway, so that's what we saw in our operations, and that's when we introduced something called a tenant vibe and a vacancy hawk. What does tenant vibe do? Right. So we are not the only company in this space. Hey, there is one or two. There is one company which is a 800-pound gorilla in the space, and but we are quickly catching up to them. Right. What is it that we do is we pre-screen all your phone calls. And I think, hey, whether you use us or somebody else, but if you are running properties, that is what you need to be doing is pre-screen all your, get all, our agent answers all your calls. It detects the intent. Are you a new person? Are you an existing leaseholder, or are you a vendor? And if you're a new person, it will give you all the what do you call pre-qualifying questions. It'll then book an appointment on the leasing manager's calendar for a tour. If you're an existing tenant, it'll ask you a question: what is wrong? How can I help you? it will try to do light troubleshooting. So for example, somebody calls in and says, hey, my AC is not working. And it will basically say, hey, if your AC is not working, have you checked the thermostat? Yeah, the thermostat is fine, but it's blowing hot air. Have you checked the filters? So it'll do that basic troubleshooting with you. And if you're still not satisfied, it'll basically book a dispatch. If it is an emergency, it will dispatch somebody right away, or it will book a work order for you. What else does it do? So most of the tenants, what we have seen is most of the tenants want to pay rent, but they either forget or they lose the link or the app on where to pay rent. So what will Tenant Vibe do? On the 25th of the month, it sends you a reminder saying that, hey, rent is due on the 1st. Here is the link. Go pay. On the 1st, it'll send another reminder. Hey, rent is due today. Here is the link. Go pay it. On the 3rd, it'll send a reminder. Hey, if you don't pay today, $200 of late fee is going to be added on. Pay today. Here's the link. On the 4th, it'll send a link. Hey, by the way, $200 added on. Here's the link. Pay. Otherwise, after 3 days, and notice to vacate is going to be sent on. 3 days later, here's the notice to vacate. So that's what it does. From a delinquency perspective, the notice to vacate, it does that. It'll send birthday reminder. It'll send 4th of July, happy 4th of July, greetings. It'll send your promotional calls. Hey, we have a $750 resident referral promotion. It can send that out twice a month. If you have somebody coming in, a pipe broke down, you can send out an emergency message to all your tenants saying that, hey, the pipe broke down, the water is going to be off for the day or not. It can actually send all those things. And it interfaces with, there are about 8 property management systems in the country which take care of 98% of the properties. Resman, Appfolio, Yardi, Entrata, Buildium, RealPage, Rent Manager, and I think one more. There are about 8 of them which control about 98% of the multifamily industry in the country. And we are interfacing with majority of them, not real time. A couple of them are real time, but not everybody is real time because they are not allowing us in. Yardi is asking us for $25,000 to interface with the system, but we can make do with all the reports. We pull all the reports every morning, so our data is one day stale on some of those reports. We pull every report every day, daily reports. We know who came in, who has a maintenance order, so on and so forth. So that's what Tenant Vibe does, right? What does vacancy hog do? The biggest issue in the industry today, in the multifamily industry, is occupancy. Occupancy, I mean, like I'm in DFW, the occupancy DFW these days is horrible. And it is horrible. And how do you bring those people in? You bring those people in through marketing, but your marketing is not effective because the marketing manager did not go and update your listing on Facebook Marketplace, or the listing on apartment.com is stale, or it is not optimized for that platform, so on and so forth, right? What does Vacancy Hawk do? If you have signed up for 5 of those listing platforms, apartment.com, Zillow, Jumper, and Apartment List, and or Facebook Marketplace, we will take your pictures. We will get the latest data from your property management system. We know that A1 floor plan has 2 vacants and B1 floor plan has 1 vacant. We will create a listing optimized for apartment.com for that floor plan and put it on apartment.com. And make sure that the pictures that you put on are not empty, dark room pictures. Those pictures have a furniture in them and it's brightly lit. And if your apartment is in Florida, the furniture that we are going to put in it is more for Florida style, versus if it is California, the furniture we're going to put it in is more California style. So that is what Vacancy Hawk does, is make sure it runs your apartment marketing at all of these platforms, because we know that after 2 days, your Craigslist listing is stale and now it's at the bottom of the pile. We will go there on Craigslist, update that listing, a few words of that, so now it's back on top. That is the power of some of this agentic stuff, where a person had to go there manually every day and you could not trust it. You were like, okay, did she do it or not? Did he do it or not? Vacancy Hawk will send you a report saying that, hey, I went to these 5 platforms today. This is all what I did today. That is what these two products do. And that is what we need in multifamily apartments, whether you build it yourself, use one of these products, use somebody else's. But this is the real deal these days from a capital raising perspective and from an operational perspective. And I can go on and on about the various different use cases. Due diligence in buying properties, same thing. PPM analyst, lead and expense agent, audit agents, due diligence checklist, so on and so forth. I mean, like, we have more than 20 custom GPTs and 20 Claude skills prepared for all of this. Now, this is key, guys. Now, what does all of this get you? Right? Okay, hey, so you spent a bunch of money. Yes, you saved a bunch of hours, and yeah, you save some money because now you're being more productive. Your staff is more productive, so on and so forth. But this is where the rubber hits the road. If we were able to raise your NOI by $50 per unit per month because of renewals, because of happy tenants, and so on and so forth, right? And you're a 200 unit apartment complex, that's 120K a year, that's $2 million in value. This is what makes me tick. I'm going to stop here and ask for questions.
So, the AI, these are AI tools that we would get from your company, right? And in
This
theory,
is
they
this
could go ahead.
No, yeah. So this is what we have a couple of these built. Yeah, we have to vacancy Octane and Vibe and Capital AI
Right.
built out, but we are not the only ones, Jason. So
Okay. But you're saying this slide here is saying, hey, look, those tools could potentially help you grow your um income by $50 a unit, which if you have 200 units equates to $2 million in value.
that's
Yeah,
what that's the goal. That's the
right,
intent. Now, hey, so sometimes quantifying it can be difficult, but
right,
hey, if I reduce your turnover rate year over year, you can do that. Or renewal rate. If I increase your renewal rate, so that's how you would calculate it out.
right. So I have a question. Going back to the beginning of the presentation, where does most AI get its data from? I have heard and seen presentations that a lot of it comes from Reddit and a couple other big sites. Do you know where it gets most of its data from?
So, OpenAI and Claude and Perplexity, and in fact, Google has been collecting our data for the last 25 years, right?
Hmm.
And so that's where Gemini is getting all its data from, is the last 25 years of whatever Google scraped for us. There was a time, before all these models came about, for about a year, 2 years, OpenAI and Claude, Anthropic, they were accumulating all this data. They were secretly accumulating all of this data from public data sources, government data sources, from books, references, libraries. Again, hey, there is so there is a one saying on the internet these days that, hey, this was the biggest copyright heist in history,
Mm,
where some of these companies have read every book. They don't reference it, verbatim, but they have read every book and have been using all of that data and so on, all the public sources and any data source that you can think of, they have read it. Okay, and now all these Reddit, like whatever we are putting out there, they're reading it. So
right.
when you hear, hey, is this data from Reddit? Absolutely, it could be. They are crawling every day those threads. Crawling every day whatever is being put out on the internet. Whatever. So far, till they become popular, they were reading all that data. What is
Hmm.
happening right now? We are feeding it a lot of data as well.
Yep.
And so it's all going in the repository.
I have a
Fascinating.
question, Jason.
Go for it, Tony.
Hey, is there a second layer to corroborate the data? For example, I just want to bring up a case like I remember in the news they use AI to drive those drones and bomb in Iran, all that stuff, and it was used on AI, and then well, a tomahawk hit the school, bunch of kids because data thought that it was a base, but it was canceled like a year ago and converted into a school. So, but the data was not updated and they kill all these students. So it's just a sample. It's not a mistake of AI. It's just whoever is in control of it. It has to be a second layer that corroborates that that's the right information. Do you have anything like that?
So again, I think Tony, if you look at it, OpenAI, Claude, they have the disclaimer at the bottom always. The disclaimer is, hey, this is AI. It can be wrong, right? Now, I think both OpenAI, Claude have become better at, they're not hallucinating as much as they used to, but they're still hallucinating. I'm like just yesterday, right? I was looking at the Anthropic stock, for example, right? Because obviously I'm liking this whole IPO buzz going on, right? So Anthropic stock on the pre-IPO was valued at $900 billion. Anthropic is. But when I asked Claude as to, hey, what is the value of Anthropic, and it gave me a number $300 billion. I'm like, no, that's not right. I just read it that it's $900 billion, and I asked it, hey, no, what you're telling me is not right. And it went and did some more research, and it came back and said, yeah, you're right. It's not 900, but it's not 300, it's 900. So can AI be wrong? Absolutely. Does it hallucinate all the time? So hey, so some of those things like you talked about, right? It was not a base; it was a school, and that hey, that some of that stuff is going to happen. Some of that stuff is going to happen. Now, if you know of a data source that you can say, hey, check this and check this, then it'll triangulate and give you a better answer.
Yeah, or expect expert, expertise is important. So we need to know all those things. Yeah, thank you.
There's a question from Carol in the chat. Do you have AI to find deals? For example, AI finds leads for you.
So we have developed a program where it goes and scours the internet for us, and it looks at crexy and loopnet now, and some of the other. So okay, so what we found, here's what we found best. crexy and loopnet do not allow you to crawl their websites. It's against the terms of service, and they actually have put really real guards around it. You mean, like every day, even if we find a way to scrape their website, next day we are not able to, because they have
Mhm.
real guardrails. Okay. But what we were able to do is so for example, I know every broker, almost every broker in multifamily in Dallas, and I know all of their websites. So what we did was, instead of scraping crexy or loopnet, we scraped all the brokers websites.
Mm.
Okay, that
Good
way,
enough.
good enough.
I
and
mean,
and
other
that,
than, an off-market deal or the broker, he hasn't put it out there or whatever. Of course, you're not gonna, it can't scrape their minds,
absolutely.
but it could go on their websites. So you have something that does that.
Or if they, because the other thing is, we could easily do is we have a buy box. So that program that we did, we had to define our buy box. So my buy box is value add C class between 9070 and 9090, and hey, for 70 units to 200 units. That's my buy box. So it went to every website of every broker and gave me 5 or 6 apartment complex saying that, hey, this is what meets your criteria. And I had already programmed it to say, hey, go email these and say, hey, this is Akash. And so because they know me by name, and hey, I need to understand what the whisper price is. So I did not have to do that work, and I had it programmed so that it could actually do it every week on a Monday, and it will only ask for new properties which came up, so that they don't think I'm lunatic that every week I'm sending them the same site asking for a whisper price.
Awesome.
So that can be done.
Awesome.
But then also, Carol, like for example, I'm a member of Greater Apartment Greater Dallas Apartment Association. So Greater Dallas Apartment Association has, gosh, maybe 3,000-4,000 apartment sites. Okay.
Mm.
So you could actually create something where you can email every apartment owner in that list and,
Oh,
try to find an off-market deal.
okay. Hmm. Okay. Was it hard to create the AI to do that, or was that, is that something like you could, if you know how to create some kind of agent, were you able, I mean, how
You can
hard is
easily
it?
you can easily do it with the Cloud Cowork.
Okay. Okay. I'm feeling really empowered. I got Claude to make me a website, so I'm ahead of the game.
There you go. Speaking
Yeah.
of speaking of Claude Code, so Jay has a question is do you use developers to create your tech suite or stack?
Yes, so I have a team of 25 people, guys, who work with me every day, and the most fun I have. So I have a call with them every day for about an hour in the morning, and that is the most fun I have in a day. And but we do use a lot of vibe coding. We use a lot of vibe coding, a lot of Claude code. But one thing I'll tell you is I come from these large companies, Honeywell, Infosys, Cognizant, and I was running large software divisions for them. I was general manager, for example, for Honeywell. I was a general manager for a $100 million software group. And what I bring with that is the that my product needs to be secure, my product needs to be enterprise grade, my product needs to have guardrails, all those kind of things that you need with an AI product. That is the mindset that we bring when you come from a large enterprise like that. Otherwise, there's a bunch of rogues out there.
And then one person asked, is it illegal to scrape websites?
Again, I'm not a I'm not a lawyer, guys.
Yeah.
But like, hey, so okay, if you are a member of some webs, like for example, Seedexy, if you are have a login into Seedexy and then you're scraping it, it's in the terms of service that you cannot scrape it. Now, hey, Google has been scraping our websites for the last 25 years. They've been
Right.
crawling our websites for the last 25 years,
Yes, they have.
maybe more than that. I think they got
Probably
launched
more
in,
than that. I feel like the
yeah,
IPO
late
came out in
90s. Yeah.
1999, I think, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, like 30 years. All right, guys.
Yeah,
I don't know.
everything you,
Go ahead, Carol.
oh, I'm just saying everything you sign up for, you're giving it permission to do whatever, and they make it difficult to undo that. And yeah, we need an app to help us. It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy. Um, a lot of this, I didn't really realize it. I attended some webinar about AI, and this guy was an attorney, and he was talking about trademarks and all this and all these things that people are creating on AI, and they have it's not yours. You don't own it. Anything created on AI, um, anybody can steal it. It's there's no legal right to it.
Yeah, he's saying
So
that, Carol, because all his contracts are being written by AI now.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
He's losing
yeah,
money.
yeah, yeah. I know. Yeah. I'm I'm sure a lot of people aren't going to be using attorneys as much.
That's
But you know what he's saying, it's almost like the technology is going so fast that I don't even think the government can keep up with trying to regulate that with trademarks and copyright and all those types of things. So,
How do you prove anymore whose copy it is?
yeah. So, like he says, you know, like the website I created, anybody can just go click, drop that in, and if Claude wants to just, you know, anyway, that's what he said. It's just something to keep in mind, even as you're creating AI agents and all that. Um, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the Wild West.
Justin, did you have a question?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Okay. So my question is with all of this automated responses and um, the AI putting listings out there and anything, is there anybody checking to make sure that it's correct before it goes out to the listing?
So one thing that we do is there is a approval queue mechanism. Now you can so like I'll give you an example, right? So we send out delinquency letters. Now delinquency letter when you send it out becomes a legal document. We do not send that out without an approval from a manager. Okay. And so they have a Telegram app or a WhatsApp app because again, we have OpenClaw working it, right? They have it in WhatsApp, they have it in Slack or the Telegram, and they have to hit approve uh, if the delinquency letter has to go out before it goes out. Similar mechanism can be set up. We don't have it. For a vacancy hawk, we don't because it becomes a little bit tedious for the manager. That is the only reason they're getting us, but that can be done. And to your point, right? I don't know if how many of you know about the dead internet theory. So there is a theory called the dead internet theory. What that really says is hey, if I'm putting out AI content, somebody else has a bot which is consuming AI content. It's bots talking to bots, bots consuming, the other bots content. So it's like basically there's no human, if you may. So it's a dead internet, right? That's what the theory is about. Because I can keep talking for hours, but again, hey, what I want to leave you with is right. Hey, adopt, build, ignore. So if you can move the needle on your bottom line, then don't worry about it. And generally, every morning when I get up, I look at it. Hey, is there something that I can automate today that is consuming a lot of my time? So again, one thing that I do is I have a time tracking system on my computer. It logs every website I go to. It logs every action that I do. And I have an AI created where if I've been to the same website, if I've done the same action 10 times in a day, then it puts it up the top, it scores it, so that I can become more efficient in those repetitive things that I'm doing. And so every week I'm looking at, hey, what can I automate? And does it help me with NOI, hours, dollars? And like I was telling you earlier, like Carol is, hey, hooked onto Claude now. Let's build some of these agents which can help you with, getting your time back, getting becoming more efficient. And hey, my wish is that hey, after this call today, in the next 90 days, each one of you have coded maybe an agent or two, if you may. If you did, please write to me. Please let me know on LinkedIn that hey, Akash, we created an agent, and hey, I'd be very excited about it.
That's awesome. And that's the challenge for you guys. That's the Friday Night Lights challenge. So Everyone has 90 days to build an agent and send it over to Akash and say, hey, look what I did. I just built myself an agent. And then we'll have at least 30 more agents built out just from this call alone.
And we can share with each other, right?
Exactly. And we can build together. That's always the goal, right? It's to bring each other up. And that's always been the goal of Friday Night Lights, right? Like it's free. Just want to help kind of pay it forward. So any last questions for Akash? I mean, this was absolutely fantastic. It was great for me too. I love to hear about AI and the shifts in the marketplace. So this was amazing. So thank you, sir. Any last questions for him before we close out tonight?
And guys, I've
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it. All the questions were freaking amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you to the Next Legacy group. This was great. Grady, can I answer? What can I answer for you? I thought there was a question, but awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining, Akash. Appreciate you. Thank you all for joining tonight. Hope you all have a great and amazing
Thank you,
weekend.
guys.
And see you next Friday.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.